Elie, let's dig in, because you've written a lot, obviously, about what's going on in the Supreme Court. And so I want to just start there in terms of what we should be looking out for in 2023. We know what's happened on reproductive rights, but what should people know as far as labor rights, gun control, and then a possible paving of the way for the next coup?
Yeah, they're coming for it all, right? Like, but by the time this Supreme Court is done, the only rights holder in this country will be an AR-15 or an Uzi, right? Like they'll have.
Well, if it registers as an LLC.
Right? Like, no, I mean, straight. You're right. Like, straight up, you're gonna have to, like, to have rights. You're gonna have to identify as an Uzi in order to maintain any level of personal freedom once the Supreme Court is done. And that's what we're going to see over the course of 2023. See, 2022, the analogy that I've made is to Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs, right? After that first kill, it's like they've gotten a taste for it now. They've understood that they can take away a sacred right for the first time in constitutional history. The first time the overturning Roe v. Wade represents the first time in American history where a constitutional right had been given and then taken back by the Supreme Court, right?
Yeah.
And they got away with it. As you know, as much as there was a lot of passionate voting this cycle, they fundamentally got away with it. There were no riots in the streets. There's nobody saying that, oh, we're just not going to follow the Supreme Court's laws. Nobody got arrested. Like, they fundamentally got away with it. Which
they did it by design. They leaked it. All that was
right.
The way they did it was we're not
was prepping the waters, right?
Yeah.
And so, having done that, now they're going to come for everything else. They already laid out all the suite of rights they're coming for next. We already know this year they're going to overturn affirmative action. That's gone. That's ending in June. I listened to oral organs for that. That's done. We know that they're coming for LGBTQ rights. There was a whole case already about a woman in Colorado who doesn't want to serve gay people on her marriage wedding registration website. Note, she doesn't actually have a website, and no gay people have asked her to do anything, but she just wants to announce that if she ever runs a website, that she will not be serving gay people. And the Supreme Court's like, yeah, okay, that's the case, sure, let's take that. Right, so we already know where they're going in terms of the next.
That is just so funny. I'm sorry. Like, so as the foremost wedding planner in the state of Ohio, where was it? Colorado. I just don't agree with planning any gay people's weddings. Like, sorry, what do you do now? Oh, I'm unemployed. I
also
like what?
Like, gay people ain't going to a straight white lady in Colorado to plan their wedding. That's not how gay people work.
No, it's not.
Like, it's a wedding registration site. Like, your job, lady, is to put the link up to Williams-Sonoma. Like, that's all you have to do. But no, she won't do it for a same-sex couple.
Okay.
But the Supreme Court took the case, so it's going to, in order to start the rescission of LGBTQ marriage rights, we're going to see it in this wedding registration case, and that will be ported over to florists and DJs and all kinds of normally public service goods. So they're coming for a lot of things.
I'm sorry to interrupt you on this. This was fun. It's so. I saw, like, read the article because I saw the headline of the lady in the picture of her, and she is what you think she's going to look like. You guys, it's tough to stereotype it. She's a fat white lady, is what she looks like. Like a little unhappy, a little frumpy and unhappy. And
sure.
But how do you pitch that to her? Like, hey, you're going to be the face of something just hateful as hell. And
yeah.
But you don't have to follow through and do it. It's nothing you really believe, but we're going to make you famous. And she was like, go on.
She pitched it to the lawyers. It's not the lawyers went to her. She went to the lawyers, just like, hey, I want to make a statement on this. It's like Kip Davis and the woman who would refuse to do marriage license in Kentucky, right? Like, there are people who have decided to make gay people being gay their problem.
Right.
And I don't understand those people. I don't understand. You know, if you don't like gay marriage, don't get gay married, and then
don't do it. Yeah,
like that should solve it. But there are these people out there, and these are the people that the Republican Supreme Court now caters to, they're also the ones who are on the Supreme Court. You got to remember that we have a highly religiously fundamentalist Supreme Court. 6 of the 9 justices are Catholics. 5 of them are not just like a la carte, like I show up, like I'm Catholic on Easter sometimes, right?
Right.
Yeah.
3 of them like see angels every day,
I'm Catholic when somebody comes to my door and tries to sell me something. Suddenly I get very like, oh no, Pro Francis says that I can't, right? But other than that, but the ones on the Supreme Court, at least 5 of them, they really think that we are supposed to be living in some kind of God's kingdom on earth. Yeah. And so they rule in these Christian fundamentalist way. I think the best example from recent cases was their decision in the praying football coach case, right? There's a public school football coach leading his players in prayer at the 50-yard line after the game, right? The players themselves said, this is again, public school, players themselves said that they felt pressured to pray with the coach in order to get playing time.
Of course.
Which I 100%, right?
I'm from East Tennessee, and we had a coach. My dad was a football coach. He was we had one when I was in middle school or something that got in trouble because he wanted to do the prayer thing, and then our school board, God bless them, was like, "Man, you just can't do that." And it's I'm from East Tennessee, where it's trust me, people were like, "Yes, he can," and they were just like,
right,
legally he can't. People were just like, "I go to church with you. I believe what he believes, but legally he," and then he also loved attention, so he kept doing it and got fired because they're like, "You just can't, man." And then he ran for school board. It was this thing, but it is but if the if the coach is like, "You gotta pray," you're like,
coach doesn't even have to say you gotta pray. You just gotta say, "I'm gonna pray."
Yeah.
Turns out QB1 also prays. You're gonna, I had a coach who was like, I don't like that long hair. Didn't have to tell me to cut it. Just said I didn't like that long hair, and guess what? I cut my hair because I won on the field.
Yeah, I like to play football. Yeah, yes.
Elie, what about in terms of labor rights and then gun control, and then we're on culture war BS, which is not even culture war stuff. I mean, these are fundamental rights for people, but labor, gun control, and then election.
Yeah, so on labor, so let's do guns because that's the easiest one. Everybody gets a gun and can use them anywhere and shoot us to death. The Supreme Court will brook no level of gun regulation. I cannot think at this point of a gun law that would stand up in front of this Supreme Court. We're about to hear a case about bump stocks. Remember Las Vegas, 60 people dead, 400 people wounded, bump stocks. Donald Trump banned bump stocks. This is not a liberal. Donald Trump banned the bump stocks, but the conservative Fifth Circuit, which is a lower court, overruled that ban, creating what's called a circuit split. So basically the 2 circuits said bump stocks should be banned, and 1 circuit said bump stocks shouldn't be banned, which means that will now go up to the Supreme Court, where the 6th of them will almost certainly agree with the conservative Fifth Circuit and overturn the bump stock ban. So, mass shooters, don't worry, your weapon of choice coming back. So that's gun control. Labor rights, we're looking at, beyond being the court that takes away bodily autonomy and hates gay people and loves guns, we're also fundamentally dealing with one of the most anti-labor courts in American history. And we already saw that this term with a case involving, it's called Glacier versus Teamsters. The Teamsters Union went out on strike. So they worked for a concrete company, right? A quick dry cement company. So they went on strike, and the cement quickly dried, as cement is known to do. The company had to destroy the cement, as they are known to do. And the company sued the Teamsters after the strike was over for intentional destruction of property, which is not what happened. They didn't intentionally. The cement dried all on its own, right? There was no intent there. In fact, the strikers actually left the cement trucks rolling so as to delay the cement drying.
that's a really, I mean, you wrote about this, and everyone should check out your work in the Nation, of course, but that was really interesting. It's like, not only are they on strike, but they're actually trying to prevent the cement from drying. They like went out of their way to keep the trucks spinning.
The trucks back to the company, kept the trucks running. It's not their fault that management doesn't know how to empty a cement truck, right? Maybe they should pay their workers a fair wage to do that. But anyway, they got sued, and that went up to the Supreme Court a couple weeks ago. They'll almost certainly lose. And when they lose that case, just all of our right to strikes are at a federal level. But the Supreme Court is going to make that penetrable at a state level. So any striking worker or any striking workers union will have to worry now about state level lawsuits after the Supreme Court case.
Which
labor
is
rights
insane.
again hang
Which
by
is
a
just
thread
taking the power.
in front of this court.
I mean, it's sorry to interrupt. That means they will have to be. They're going to be liable for any business loss due to the strike, which is effectively, that is the point of a strike. That is the point. That's why workers do that. And now it's like, oh no, you can sue your own workers for costing you money.
Yep. And remember that even if they win these lawsuits, the cost of litigation itself is what's going to harm the labor unions, right? It's not like labor unions are rolling in cash. So even when it's
that's what they're doing.
They got to pay the lawyers. They have to spend the time and money, and that drains the unions of resources. And that's what they're going to be forced to do after this Supreme Court case comes down.
What's going on, Frantifa? If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that button. And also, you can become a patron and support the show every single week. Get access to bonus episodes and exclusive merchandise. Patreon.com/Bitchuation Room. Do it.